Well, good morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are in the world. It is morning for me, but I am super pumped up because I've had 14 cups of coffee. You know how I roll, you guys. I roll right out of bed, right into my IV. I am so ready, you guys. Hope everyone's having a wonderful weekend. Let's get this intro out of the way. We're going to get this party started. For those who do not know, THORChain is the world's leading Bitcoin DEX. You can swap 13 different blockchains across 41 different pools without using bridges or wrap tokens. Check it out at swap.thorchain.org. That's swap.thorchain.org. Anyone in the world can use THORChain. There's no account to open, there's no KYC required, and privacy is a human right. THORChain has two tokens, that is Rune and TCY. The fees for swapping on THORChain are paid in Rune, and that's where the yield comes from. The fees are deducted from swap, so you do not need to own Rune to trade on THORChain. It's pretty cool, you guys. The Rune token is also currently deflationary as 5% of fees are burned. 10% of protocol fees goes to TCY token holders. Remember, you guys, stake the TCY tokens in order to collect this yield. There are no block rewards on THORChain. The protocol's fees are real money paid by real users. THORChain is more than just a DEX, you guys. It is a programmable layer 1 with the ability to create smart contracts and dApps. This app layer is being developed by Rujira. If you need help with THORChain in general, please, guys, join the THORChain community Discord and Telegram group. Links for those are on THORChain.org. And also on THORChain.org, you guys, join our email list. This is the best way to stay up to date with THORChain and all the good stuff going on. Cannot wait, guys, to have this one. It's going to be a fun one. And always remember, you guys, this podcast is for information and educational purposes only and does not constitute financial, investment, or legal advice. The THORChain community does not endorse or condone illicit activity of any kind whatsoever because we're all about freedom. We're not here about crime. I hope everyone's having a great time. We have BazaarSwap with Decentranet here. I cannot wait to talk to them. But before I do, I'm going to kick it to my main man, Kenton, who's wearing the pink shirt because he's a confident guy. How you doing, Kenton?
Yeah, good. Thanks, man. Pink attracts love. I like pink. Yeah, I don't think
That's
it's
right.
yeah, I think it's good. But I'm doing good, man. Thanks.
It
I'm
works.
on vacation.
You pulled off, bro.
Oh, I can pull anything off, Danny.
That's right.
I'm on vacation right now. So I'm tuning in for the podcast. I was actually come on Thursday, but I was enjoying myself. I need a break. And so yeah, I don't have much to talk about marketing wise. I'm just keeping tabs on some emails and messages and stuff. I'm not really doing too much. Um, so I'll be here beyond. I'm in Canada right now. I'm going to Calgary Stampede with friends, and I already spent some time in BC. So which is beautiful right now, and yeah, so not much to report. I should be on the podcast next Thursday. That's about it. I'll probably miss next Saturday, but I don't got much to talk about, guys. Sorry. So that being said, I think we should just jump right into it with Nikita here and Flynn. If you guys just give us like a quick intro about yourselves and your journey in crypto, what led you to BazaarSwap, and just so we can get a feel for who you guys are. And I don't know who wants to go first. Maybe Flynn, do you want to start? And then
Sure,
we'll go.
yeah. Thank you so much for having us today. By the way, Daddy, your energy is insane. I
Coffee,
just
bro.
had my
It's coffee.
coffee. I need to up my dose, clearly.
It is
Yeah,
insane.
so
Like I just
hey
woke up
everyone,
too, and
my
I'm
name
like,
is yeah.
it takes me a while to wake up. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. So my name is Flynn Jameson. I am the CEO and co-founder of BazaarSwap. And my journey into crypto started back in 2017. I was living overseas, and my housemates and I were like fixated on the whole Bitcoin price, as it was going from 3,000 to 19,000. And the original reason why I came to crypto was because I was looking for real solutions to problems. And at the time, I was really heavy into TradFi. I was an equities, commodities, and ETF investor. I basically lived and breathed the markets. And so coming to crypto, I was looking for privacy solutions. I was looking for ways to better control my money because, as you know, with TradFi investing, typically you have to deal with brokerages, you have to deal with fees and custody. So that was a huge thing was self-custody of money. So the core concept of a blockchain based cryptocurrency was fascinating to me. And so Bitcoin originally attracted me in. I'd heard about Bitcoin back in like 2012, 2013, but back then, it was just for crazy people. So I didn't go near it, but 2017 rolled around and I started to get involved. Formally, I kind of entered the industry in 2019, mostly as a like early DeFi user, back on Binance Chain and then Polygon when that first came out. I remember seeing THORChain in the Chaos Net early days, the craziness that was. But yeah, very very excited to be here now. Yeah, I think I'll pass that over to Nikita.
Yeah. Can you guys hear me all right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Beautiful.
Excellent. So yeah, I've been in the tech side since 7 years old or something like that. One of my first books was about developing. I'm now pushing 40, so and always been interested in the newest technology as much as possible. So in the blockchain, since like blockchain space, Web3 space since like 2019. Since 2020, I've been the lead developer still and co-founder of the Center, which is the Center browser. We currently have much more bigger expansion of that. We have a whole bunch of different software, mostly Android related, but we are moving to the cross platform as we did with browser. So for example, browser was Windows, Linux, Mac, iOS, Android, so everything as much as possible. We right now, yes, as I said, we're building the SAS in terms of um, the different useful stuff, which is, the password manager, file manager, for example, browsing, AI components, all of that stuff all together. And at the same time, part of the things is about the browser when we started developing it is that the segregation that we've seen in the whole crypto community, which is the segregation in terms of everybody has their own favorite wallet, everybody has their own favorite chain, coin, whatever it is. And because of that problem that we've seen, that also limited the people who are trying to pay for service. So if you want to be, paying for regular SAS, you obviously, give your credit card and stuff. You already pretty much done the KYC and so forth, so on. With the crypto, it depends on what coins they take. Then you need to like transfer the coins and see like if it works, swap and all sorts of stuff. So that's why initially the whole idea came up with the center browsers that do as much of the DEX and DEX aggregation as possible, so that when the user comes in, he can pay with whatever coin they have with whatever wallet, and then it just automatically transfers into the suitable coin for us, obviously, and gets the purchase done. The person doesn't even know that the coin was paid in different. So, for example, they come in and they get the price in their whatever they have. So, for example, they have some obscure stuff like Ocean and Polygon, or Dojo and Ethereum, or like you can have like multiple examples of different networks and coins and so forth, so on. And they can come in and they use that for the payment. So that's where the initial idea came in, and then it kind of grew into what Flynn is gonna talk about in more details, which is BazaarSwap, which is basically aggregation of all aggregations. It's not necessarily for the whole idea of like people trading and moving, but it's more of the convenience because there is so many networks and chains, and everybody is segregated with their own stuff, and they pushing their own things. Nobody wants to keep 20 wallets, on their browser or on their mobile apps. Nobody wants to keep their, like even if you keep the funds in different coins, you want to have like a single point of exit where you can just like, purchase anything or use it for everything. So that's that was the idea, kind of BazaarSwap, and the name kind of suits it because that's pretty much you get everything on the bazaar. So, so there you go. That's pretty much a short intro about what I've been doing, what kind of the center been doing, because we've been, as I said, we've been spending the most amount of time into doing all sorts of development work and in different products. And BazaarSwap has been, that another product of ours that we do in the background. So, but yeah, Flynn, if you can, you can expand, and actually, like, I'm pretty sure you can even, show parts of it, or like, at least explain, like, how it works. So.
Yeah, you can screen share if you guys want. We'd love to see it. I mean, that'd be great
Yeah.
content for the audience. So, I don't know, Flynn, if you wanted to try that, there's a share button down right there. Yeah, show us what you guys are doing. What you got? I love it. And then maybe we can
See
break
here.
it down on a more granular level.
Sure thing. Hang on 1 second. Let me pull up the
Yeah.
app and then, okay, so let's see, screen share, maybe screen and Bazaar.
Oh, guys, the anticipation. It's coming.
All right.
Oh boy.
Can everyone see it? Okay.
Woo! Look at that. Go
And
ahead,
just
brother.
FYI, this is dark mode. This is light mode. You can see
Very
why
good.
I use dark mode because I'm a vampire. So anyway, okay, so this is BazaarSwap. When you first come to the
Can
interface,
you zoom in a
you'll
bit,
see
Flynn?
the familiar connect wallet button. Yes. Let's see. Is that better? A little better?
It's
Yeah, it's a
definitely
little
better.
better. Yes.
Yeah.
Let's see.
There you go. Yeah.
Trying to
Yeah.
get it all in one screen too. So yeah,
Yeah.
so as everybody comes to expect, you got your connect wallet button in the top right. Now, originally, the concept behind BazaarSwap, Nikita had called it DDEX. DDEX referring to a decentralized DEX aggregator, aggregator of aggregators. And the original concept involved Squid Router. Shout out to Squid Router. They just did an incredible public sale of their token that was it 6 or 7 times oversubscribed? Absolutely amazing. And part of Squid Router's value proposition was that they used Axelar Bridge to route Cosmos trades. So originally we had more wallet options because we had more networks for bidirectional swaps, but primarily what we've noticed, especially over the last couple of years, and I'm sure both you guys know, there's been a lot of consolidation in DeFi. So the Cosmos ecosystem, I think there's 110 different layer one networks, and most people are probably aware that out of that 110, maybe 20 or 25 of them are actually doing something and have any kind of volume. So we shifted our focus to EVMs, which was where all the action was taking place. So as you come to expect with EVM, you log in with let's see here. I might need to see. Actually, you know what? I think Kepler wallet should be good enough. And hang on 1 second. Let me just check to make sure this is the correct wallet before I move forward.
Ah, you're good. I
Yes.
like those connections
Okay.
there.
Oh yeah. Okay, so here we go. Didn't want to dox all my balances.
I understand. No
Okay.
worries.
So, let's see here. So, as you can see, got the wallet connection in the top right corner. So now you have your interface. Now, typically, the way you would approach this is choose your network. With how things are set up right now, I believe we have 75 EVM networks listed currently. And then, as you can see at the very bottom, one of the secret sauce right there, Ton at the very bottom. I'll get into that in a second, but the basic premise is, you choose your network, choose whatever asset you want, There are many, 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 many assets, and the logos do load after some time. For example, like if I wanted to trade Arbitrum, let's say one Arbitrum token, and so as you can see, Arbitrum from ARB to USDC, it gives you the output, and then it gives you your exchange rate. Very happy to announce this whole box here is brand new. It was just added, so now everyone can see what the rates are, the gas costs, and of course, if there's a platform fee attached. And then in your right-hand side here, you have our providers. So as you can see, we have Squid Router, which is currently giving the cheapest cost for this swap. I know one ARB token is 8 cents, so it's not like the output's going to be very big, but it'll show you what the rates are, and you can essentially shop and compare. Part of the thinking behind this was that we saw the pre-existing DEX aggregators essentially showing the end user a single quote. Because obviously,
If I can interrupt,
uh-huh.
like it's really important point of that is they try to like hijack the rates and you don't really know the numbers behind it. And for us, it was always a thing that we want to give the users as much choice as possible. We don't
Yeah,
like it's not it's not up to us because we are Dex aggregator. We still allow you to make a choice. For example, I don't know, like the person even thinks of like, oh, I like I like Rango or whatever, right? And they don't care about that they're gonna get the worst pricing, or they, for example, they want the fastest hour, they willing to pay more, like so that's
yep,
right now it works in the sense of at least manual switching, but in the future, obviously we get more one of the things that we wanted to do more is in terms of AI, where you can have the actual like AI agent following during during the day or whatever, and waiting for the best choice depending on the user preferences, but the user must see those preferences, because that's we give the biggest ability. So
yeah. Let me
but yeah, sorry,
see.
sorry about the interruption, but it was really important
No
that
worries.
we
No, you're
why we
good. You're good.
showed the
I
different, and you can choose different
There we go.
routes that you want to use. Like
Yeah.
that's the freedom that we give to the user.
I just
So
want to interrupt
case in
too.
point, I
We
was
had a
making
comment
sure.
about
Yeah.
when you mentioned Axelar, Flynn. We said somebody posted
Uh-huh.
this. I just want to share it. Speaking of Axelar, all their tokens on Secret got roped
Yeah.
2 weeks
So that
ago.
was.
Another reminder to stay away from wrapped assets. It was almost $5 million. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
So
that's what the
yeah.
different. Yeah, technically, I can explain technically that Axelar first started as kind of more even though they technologically doing the bridges, they did have like some inventories of their own. Squid Router is the one that's built kind of decentralized using Axelar. There was like splits already. I mean, that drama was there before for like several years. So that's for us. The main thing is that we used, the Squid Router, and that's actually, that actually, Kent, that's a good point as well. That look, like for example, you need to change something, right? And your favorite exchange like is got racked or something like that, and here you can choose any other ones, any other routes that would be more suitable, and especially like because it does happen in crypto where some protocols stopped working, but at least you have liquidity in one place or another place. So but yeah,
Yeah.
sorry
And
for
I
speaking
think
of that.
this is a great point right here. So I was checking to make sure we had a route on THORChain. So as you can see, this is how you would look at trading. I know 10 ETH is a lot of ETH, but if you wanted to trade 10 ETH for USDC, you can use THORChain and you get the cheapest cost and the highest output. So you can compare rates and see, depending on market conditions, different providers will show you different quotes. And so we wanted to make sure that however it was that you wind up getting your desired asset, that you get either the cheapest cost, the fastest transaction speed, if that matters to you. I'm not sure if this is the streaming swaps or not, because it's saying about 6 minutes for a swap this size for about $17,000. But anything, for our viewers here, anything that THORChain offers through its API automatically comes, forward to us. So we gain all the same utility and functionality that you would come to expect if you were using something like the THORChain swap interface.
Yeah, that's a
But yeah,
streaming
so
swap.
as you can see,
But Flynn, can you zoom in a little bit more?
so
I
the
can't see.
maximum output is probably helped by that. Yeah,
That's
see it now?
better. Yeah. So, but yeah, that's a streaming swap. So
Here we go.
what other exchanges you have on there?
Gotcha. And yeah. So for this specifically, we aggregate over 350 different dexes on Ethereum. So pretty much anything with volume we can route through. Now, of course, if THORChain has a better price, that'll be the one that's displayed at the top. So it shows you in descending order for output. So for example, we aggregate Uniswap, PancakeSwap, Sushi Swap, Aerodrome, Velodrome. I mean, pretty much name a DEX. As long as it is covered in one of our providers, we can offer the routes through it. So we essentially take
There is
the,
there
yeah,
there is additional thing to that, is that the DEX aggregators, they all of them are actually, there is going to be a huge benefit in terms of when you want to trade some routes are not accessible to one DEX aggregations and accessibles to others. And what we're
yeah.
planning to do in terms of unification, and that's where AI is going to help out and stuff, is that connect all of those exchanges between each other. So for example, even if you have you want to exchange weird thing on another weird thing, or like, like the, I don't know, purchase something that is not offered on any chain simultaneously, we can try to connect even the DEX aggregation chains, and that way we can exchange pretty much any asset in the world to any asset in the world. That's
And
that's
yeah,
that's the ultimate goal here. So
and here's a way to add on. So obviously in our origin asset list, we have 75 EVMs and then TON. In the destination asset, as you'll see in a second, there are all the Cosmos, the UTXO chains. So for example, if we wanted to swap to Bitcoin, the way Bitcoin works is a little different, because as you know, there's really no, oh, hold on. Was I muted there?
Just for 5 seconds. Go ahead and repeat. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah, so with Bitcoin, it's a little different because Bitcoin doesn't really have the same wide, easy accessibility with Web3 wallets as, for example, EVMs have MetaMask, Rabby, Trust Wallet. All your major exchanges all have EVM coverage. And so with Bitcoin and many of the other UTXO chains, you simply have a basic manual wallet address field. So once you enter your wallet address in there, then it'll populate the output and then show you the routes. So for example, I don't actually know if I have a Bitcoin wallet address handy. Let me think. I don't. Did either of you guys have a dummy Bitcoin wallet address that you could share just for testing?
I don't have one on me. Sorry, I don't. Dang it.
That's fine. Basically, so when you enter in a wallet and you get the output, it'll show you the
I'll
routes.
give you some example of the I'll give you the what
Yeah, so
I'll
as
send
you
it to
can
you.
see, we have a lot of other destination chains. So Solana, Sui, Tron of big interest, Ton, of course, Cardano, Dash, shout out to Joel Valenzuela, Dogecoin, Litecoin, Monero, Zcash. So when THORChain gets that Monero liquidity pool up and running, we will be able to facilitate swaps to that pool. And because
Very
of
exciting.
Monero's very, very, very thin liquidity, our current approach involves deposit-only swaps. So you've got StealthX, Exelix, and a few others. They're obviously not traditional tier one dexes like THORChain, but it's a way to route liquidity for Monero because everybody knows it's so difficult to get a hold of without a good set, let's call it a centralized place to do it. The same thing would apply with Zcash. So we can currently route swaps for Zcash through near intents, but also once that pool on THORChain is deep enough, we'll also be able to route through that as well. And not to give too much away, but we are also very interested in Maya Chain's DeFi. And Maya Chain, of course, has the Zcash liquidity pool. So we want to essentially give people every possible option that has decent depth because maybe at some point in the day THORChain's price for Zcash might be higher than Maya Chain's, and so traders will want to go to Maya Chain to get that better rate, whereas in other days or other periods throughout the day the price of Zcash might be cheaper on THORChain, and therefore users will be able to see, oh, I can go to THORChain, get the most Zcash for my buck, or hey, I can go to THORChain and get the most Monero for my buck. Then that way it's a lot easier for people to see, are they getting the best price? Because I don't know about you guys, but when I go to CoinGecko and I look at a tokens page and I look at the markets and what the liquidity pool prices are, there's just too many options. It's very hard to sort through, and also, without AI, it's very difficult to sift through hundreds of dexes that have most of these assets. So that's kind of like a higher level overview of how the EVM uh, focus swaps work. Now, what I'm really excited about, and this is brand new, is our TON integration. So we can currently support TON swaps on chain. So as of right now, as you guys can see, we have all the major assets on TON, all supported. I was actually playing around with this last night. We even have, where did it go? Yeah, so XAUTO, which is the Tether Gold token. So this is essentially a way to get a gold analog on TON, swapping through BazaarSwap, which I think is very cool because um, when it comes to like real world assets coming on chain, gold is by far and away the most popular asset, and nothing else comes close. So like PaxG and then Tether Gold, I think the combined market cap is something like close to $5 billion, and nothing else comes remotely close to that. So we're very, very excited about this. I know some of the other people on the THORChain team are also extremely bullish on TON Network and that coming online. So um, with TON, because obviously TON has a completely different wallet setup. So traditionally, you have your EVM wallet, but for TON, it'll prompt you to connect your TON wallet, and then gives you this nice pop-up. This is our TON Connect integration, and as you can see, of course, the big one, wallet and Telegram you can log in with, TON Keeper, which is my personal preference. And then when you click to more, these are all of the wallets that are currently supported through TON Connect. And the really cool thing about this was, I think it was in April, TON Connect was formally integrated into Wallet Connect v2. So when it comes to all the rest of the wallets, 600, however many other wallets that are normally in Wallet Connect, they can all choose to support TON Connect natively now. So we definitely expect to see a larger number of wallets coming online, the next several months that'll be supporting TON. But yeah, so just walking through real fast, you go to the browser wallet and let me sign in and connect. And here we go. Okay, so as you can see with the TON connection, there's the wallet there. And then you can choose to also send it to a different TON address. So say, for example, you have a different THORChain wallet in Telegram. Very simply, just enter in the address and you're good to go. Now, in terms of rates, let's say I want to swap 10,000 THORChain for USDT. So I'll show you the conversion rate. And then right now it looks like there's not enough liquidity. I think, okay, here we go. So as of right now, with our, let's see here. Did I lose everyone? Is everyone good? Okay, there we go. So with the current setup, I believe there's a $1,000 or so swap restriction. So there might be, you might have to break those trades into smaller chunks. But as you can see here, our StonFi integration now supports on-chain swaps from THORChain assets to THORChain assets. And yeah, so Rubik would be the only other router that would be able to handle this trade for us. But obviously, you get more using StonFi. Let me check to make
And
sure.
as I
This
mentioned
is the
before, when I was talking about the connection between the different DAX aggregators, is that right now it shows only two possible routes, but later on, when it can be routed through some other coins or using some other leverage, it could become viable to show the other aggregators as well, so they could have the same rules.
Yeah, and I think that might help. Currently, this is the StonFi integration is in a beta stage, so there may be some bugs in terms of finding a good route, but essentially, what StonFi's integration enables us to do is to facilitate currently stablecoin swaps from TON to Ethereum mainnet, BNB chain, Base, Polygon, and then as of yesterday, Arbitrum and Avalanche. So all of that is kind of coming together. What's happening, like what I mentioned before about the consolidation, people at the top of TON took a look and were like, oh my gosh, we can't trade from TON to any other networks. MetaMask is adding Solana, they're adding Bitcoin, they're adding Tron. So this latest integration that they put out enables a form of an atomic swap from chain to chain. So before this, you couldn't trade from TON network to something like Avalanche. There was no route, there was no way to facilitate that. And if you could make that swap happen, you'd have to go through multiple hops because you'd have to find the proper DEX aggregators in the DEXs that actually have the assets that you're looking for. So we're very, very excited about the TON integration, especially because I don't know if you guys have seen, Pavel Durov has been bull posting for months now, and he's got his Make TON Great Again campaign that they're currently on, and I think they've done either 4 or 5 major announcements, and they've improved the speed of the blockchain. They've obviously been adding cross-chain functionality, TON Connect into Wallet Connect, so standardizing things, making accessibility, improving accessibility, shall I say. And obviously, the 9,000-pound gorilla in the room is Telegram itself. And because Telegram itself was originally the primary development house for TON, it is rumored that one of these final big announcements from Pavel might be a Telegram and TON network. We're going full speed ahead with this, and there is no better distribution platform in the world for crypto than Telegram, hands down. Telegram did it first. WhatsApp is currently in the process of trying to play catch up, and it remains to be seen whether that'll even be possible at this point, because even though WhatsApp has, supposedly 4 billion users, while Telegram only has 1 billion, Telegram has its built-in wallet. It has all the mini apps. So in the future, you will be able to go into Telegram and use the BazaarSwap Telegram mini app. So you'll be able to swap assets inside Telegram without having to go to another website, without having to do a separate wallet connection, because in Telegram you already have that embedded wallet, and that Tom Connect wallet connection is embedded in there. So it's a lot simpler, less hoops to hop through. That's the big thing we want to help address, is that, you know, in DeFi, there's too many hoops for people to hop through. There's too many clicks. You know, trying to swap assets, you have to approve the origin asset, you have to approve the asset you want to swap to, you have to make sure your slippage is correct, and also you have to make sure that the price is actually what you want. So it's like, before you even click execute, you've got 5 or 6 clicks. And, you know, especially in today's modern era, with people's attention spans being the way they are, you know, you want to make things simpler for people. You don't want them to have to spend more time doing something as basic as swapping 2 assets.
I have a question.
And yeah, for sure.
So you mentioned, you're totally correct. I mean, UI, UX is everything. You want to make it as streamlined and simple as possible. You want it to make it like, someone having a banking app on their phone or anything like that. Just a simple interface that people can
Yeah.
easily transition to. You mentioned the price execution and how important it is that people get what they're expecting. And I was just wondering, do you guys keep track of data between quotes that are executed, like based on the quote itself, and the actual execution of that quote, and if there's a differential there? Like if like, let's say a certain DeFi protocol is being a little too optimistic with their quote, right? I was wondering if you guys track that data.
Yeah, we're not tracking it right now at this moment, but again, it's a huge chunk of additional work to have such financial data, because obviously handling it on the server side and stuff, especially because we are dealing with so many coins. So it is going to be a challenge to keep tracking of that. Again, we are more of the aggregation service, obviously, on top of those things. Nothing stops the user from seeing, oh, look, it's a THORChain or it's a Squid Router, and go to the respective sites, so Squid Router or THORChain, and just exchange there. So for us, like, the analytics, that's going to be coming into much later place.
Yeah.
But because it is much bigger task, because we are handling, we're trying to handle as many
Yeah, no,
coins
I
as
get it. I
you know.
wonder if you could just do like a small sample size, because the one thing we have seen historically is that a lot of people, when it comes to getting the quotes, is like, if you can give a more optimistic quote, you win, right?
Yeah.
And so that creates a bad incentive structure
I
for
mean,
DeFi in general.
part of the things that we discussed internally, instead of having that, yeah, I understand even like 2 quotes, but instead of that's a big chunk of BI work and the data
Yeah.
warehouse work. So we part of the solutions that we were thinking about is actually having roots. When you see here the roots of like fastest and the best, have another argument as the rating, because we can always implement, when you log in with your wallet, you can rate out your transaction. So for example, it was if it was as fast as working and as cheap as working, because that basically brings it to a whole nother level, because that way you can also see by the rating how it works because that definitely helps out. But again, that's future implementation.
Sure,
So
yeah, I get it.
but the question is valid, because again, it's a big chunk of the thing is that there is I wouldn't say lie in transactions, but there is obviously a lot of the cases where you see the time and you see the the pricing, and it's completely different on the
Right,
output.
yeah.
Because
I got
again,
you.
like, this is decentralized. We are not like we are not even when you see at the banking, they sacrifice the time and enormous percentage for the transactions. In the crypto, yeah, you might get like bigger fee, but it's not going to be, some ridiculous, like, I've seen some ridiculous jumps in the Ethereum fees, but it's like, it's ridiculous day, you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
if, for example, you take, on average, you're not going to see as much difference. That's one part. And another part is that about the timing, that usually is a problem when there is some scarce assets, like something that might have like only one or two routes, and they, for example, bought a slacking off, so, or if there is a huge volatility on the market, but then you would get that behavior from pretty much anywhere. So not only our, DEX aggregator, but pretty much from any DEX or any aggregation, and swap inside. Even, like I used multiple products before coming to this one. Like I used the inside MetaMask swaps. I used Uniswap, like I used
Mhm.
1inch protocol, THORChain, Squid Router, Go Skip protocol. Like I use, like I use all of them, and there's always going to be cases where what you wanted to do is not happening because it's either the market volatility is acting up, the day of the week, I don't know, like PlayStation is releasing on some, like it
Yep.
is crypto. It's like, like
Yeah, I understand.
but the thing is that, yeah, we would love to have such data, but for such data, it's a huge amount of resources because we love the work that we do, and we love to do it technically correct. And to do it technically correct, you need to have a good chunk of money, because you need DevOps, you need the good BI intelligence, you need to have, as I mentioned, data warehouses, and make sure that it's all working properly, and so you open another whole can of worms. So
Oh yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
Oh, I totally get it. Well, I love what you guys are doing here, and interesting, Flynn. Your explanation of the Ton asset makes me really want Ton to be added on THORChain
Mhm.
immediately. It's in the
Yeah.
process.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I wanted to circle back to the Bitcoin thing now that I have the
go
address. So
ahead.
as you can see, if you want to swap from ETH on Ethereum to Bitcoin on Bitcoin Layer 1, depending on the quantity that you're looking for, that'll determine what your routes are. So for example, with 10 Ethereum, that's $17,000. For a $17,000 swap, you have two options. You have Squid Router, which will be the fastest, but you'll get less Bitcoin. And for anybody trading Bitcoin, that is an unacceptable outcome. They want the most output. Now, if you bump it up to 100 ETH, which is $177,000 swap, you have one way, which is THORChain. And of course, that's a streaming swap. That's a 36-minute thing, but you wind up getting exactly what you're looking for. I don't know what the average swap size is on THORChain for Bitcoin, but I can imagine if you
A
guys
lot.
have whales, yeah, if you guys have whales coming through, I mean, let's just play with this real fast and see. Oh, okay. So say for example, you have 1,000 ETH, which is $1.7 million per swap. Now, I don't know. I doubt any of these other providers will be able to even show a quote because you have to access 28 Bitcoin. And I don't
yeah,
know where you might
no,
find that other than THORChain.
yeah, that's totally true, and that's partly why we want to do the chain of different dash aggregators. Because, for example, you have a good liquidity on the Bitcoin, but for example, it needs to go to Tone, so it goes
Yeah.
through your routing initially, but then it goes to different other aggregators that support, for example, Tone from the big, like, so it's a cumulative thing that can be achieved. Like, you can have pretty good level of exchange to anything, and that's what we're
Yes.
trying to, again,
Yep.
to achieve, that
And
the whole
and to
desegregation of the
yeah, and to
networks.
to point out here, for example, when THORChain adds TON, we will also be able to facilitate these TON to Bitcoin, TON to BNB, all these networks that you guys already have integrated. TON plugs right in, and because we have that full coverage, I'm assuming THORChain is not going to go out of its way to list 1,000+ assets on TON network because a lot of them aren't going to have volume, and volume's obviously necessary. But yeah, the idea is that you'll be able to see THORChain and then Stonefine as the two different ways to route this. Let me see if I can find.
And while you do that,
Yeah.
Flynn, I'll just get some
Mhm.
context because you were saying you asked about the price execution and swap volume size on THORChain. THORChain's did the largest swap layer one to layer one swap in DeFi history. It was like I think 6 months ago. It was
Mhm.
$30-something million, and that is before
Woo.
rapid swaps innovation, right? So THORChain can handle
Wow.
tremendous volume. It really can. So it's a question of just streaming swaps, time, and also with rapid
Mhm.
swaps now. I'd be curious to know how it probably would have been much shorter with rapid swaps, but go ahead, Flynn.
Yeah. So, for example, Avalanche already hooked up with THORChain. Let's say you want to do a 10,000 USDC swap for Bitcoin. As you can see, THORChain might take you twice as long, but you get more out of it. So for the end user, we wanted to make sure that whatever you're looking for, whatever chain you want to find it on, that you get the most, bang for your buck. Because ultimately, let's be very frank here. Crypto users are some of the cheapest people in the entire world that you can ever meet. They don't want to pay fees. They want everything instantly, and they don't want to have to make a lot of decisions. They want, bang, bang,
Yeah.
bang, ready to go.
And again, as I
Especially,
mentioned,
yeah.
yeah. As I mentioned, Flynn, like this is what in the future when we add rating, that will add another point of interest for the user, and then it can be like, okay, I have the choice of two, but one is more better rated. That means I want to go with that route. So
Ooh,
that's also helps out a lot.
here we
So
go. Let's see. 1-to-1, maybe. There we go. Okay, so say for example, you wanted to trade Coinbase wrapped Bitcoin from base to your native, real Bitcoin on Bitcoin layer one. You currently looks like just Squid Router. But in the future, ideally, because Coinbase Wrapped Bitcoin is also expanding, it's now on Solana. I didn't actually know that until last night when I was doing some research on like the market caps and how things have kind of shaped up. But Coinbase Wrapped Bitcoin is now the number two Bitcoin analog in terms of any kind of derivative or wrapped asset. And obviously on THORChain, there are no wrapped assets. So Coinbase wrapped Bitcoin probably won't be listed on the DEX, but being able to swap to native Bitcoin, we offer a way. And then once you're in Bitcoin, then say, or you want to uh, actually, right now we don't support that bidirectional swap to Bitcoin just because of the wallet UX issue. That's kind of like the one limiting factor in DeFi right now is that if you want to truly have an omni-chain, bridgeless, wrapped asset-less experience, it's very difficult because you really only have THORChain. Everyone else uses these wrapped assets. Everyone else is using bridges. In our tech stack, through our Rango and Rubik integrations, we have over 40 different cross-chain bridges, uh, intense solvers, and swap providers, all built in there. And THORChain is just superior. Let's be real here. THORChain is just superior to everything else out there. And especially, looking at the past year, how many bridges have been hacked and exploited? How many smart contracts, like for example, Axelar just suffered this latest one. Um, these are not small problems, and they've been happening, for many, many years. So THORChain, especially, and I think this is a good way to segue into, why did we choose to integrate THORChain into our stack when, there's obviously other options? It's because number one, we view THORChain as the true purists in the room. So instead of selling out and, either using wrapped assets or a bridge of some sort, THORChain has maintained its ethos through and through this whole time. And that means something because, I've been in the industry 7+ years. I've seen tons of projects come and go. I've seen tons of DeFi protocols come and go. A lot of the stuff that I was using back in 2020 on BNB chain, it's no longer there. You can't use it because it didn't succeed. It didn't capture that target market, and it didn't achieve product market fit. And that's the biggest thing I think that people should understand about DEX aggregators is that, at their core, a DEX aggregator is typically just on one chain. So uh, typically you have an Ethereum DEX aggregator or you have a Solana DEX aggregator, but there's no Ethereum and Solana DEX aggregator under one umbrella. It's always fragmenting, piece by piece. And what that does is, number one, it forces users to take more steps, to click through more buttons, to make more decisions. It leads to that decision fatigue that everyone talks about. How, you know, if you're an arbitrage trader, you want to know the best price immediately. You don't want to wait and have to open up 12 different tabs in your web browser and sign 12 different transactions with your wallet to log in, and also open yourself up to risk, because the more times you have to sign transactions, the bigger that attack vector becomes, because you never know when for example, a single bridge could be exploited. And then if the information doesn't come out that it's exploited and you sign with your wallet is essentially open to that risk. So we wanted to bring everything under one umbrella, so that way you sign with your wallet once and you're in. You don't have to keep, approving wallet connection. And also, once you approve an asset, that asset, is remembered in your wallet. So that way you don't have to keep approving it in the process. Um, but yeah, what we're most focused on now with BazaarSwap is we've built the universal MetaDex aggregation layer, right? And so now we are looking at where things are going in the industry. What are people focused on next? And it's very clear to everyone. It's all AI agents, and making sure that not only is a DeFi application uh, optimized for agents to use, but also gives agents the best options. So for humans, of course, are going to look at, three or four quotes, make their decision based on their personal preference. Agents are very different. They want cheapest cost most of the time, and they don't care what the provider is. They don't care what the route is. They just want the cheapest cost because they're looking to execute a lot more transactions. So with humans, I think the average is somewhere between like 1 to 10 transactions a day, whereas with agents do 10x of that. And agents are also much more likely to engage in those microtransactions. So obviously, THORChain is much more optimized for handling those huge swaps, streaming swaps, and then of course the instant swaps. But with agents, they're a lot more interested in more transactions, faster execution speed, and cheapest cost, because they do not have our human discernment. So however they're programmed, that's how they operate. So what we're looking to do with BazaarSwap next is to make it the go-to swap aggregation platform for AI agents.
That's great.
Part of this is, obviously we currently support 41,100 tokens. If you go to CoinGecko, I think CoinGecko has, like, I'd like to say 12 or 13,000 total tokens listed. So we don't just list what are on the major listing sites. We also list, what's in the dexes, what's getting volume. So for example, Ethereum mainnet has thousands upon thousands upon thousands of assets. Not all of them will be listed on every listing service, but we want to make sure that, like Nikita said, if you have some obscure asset that you want, you should be able to find it. You shouldn't have to jump through hoops. You shouldn't have to go to Claude and say, hey, Claude, tell me what dexes have this asset. Here's the contract address. No, you should be able to go to BazaarSwap, click on the network, type in, in the search bar, what's your asset, and then find it. And that's it. You shouldn't have to run around have multiple, tabs in your web browser open, or for that matter, God forbid, have multiple wallets, each with different, assets listed. So we want to kind of bring everything together and make it as simple as possible for both humans and AI agents to swap. And it's no secret that with DEX aggregators, the typical way that they generate revenue is through volume. So volume leads to fees, and of course, fees then feed into that buyback and burn, or for that matter, like a protocol-owned liquidity purchase schedule. And what that kind of does is it gets the juices flowing. So so right now, in terms of DEX aggregators, I know 1inch and CowSwap are usually like top two, maybe top three at the worst in terms of regular volume. They're churning 1 billion a day. I mean, it's a lot of money flowing through those rails, and they are they are capitalizing on a lack of information symmetry. So if you're using 1inch, you are only seeing the price quotes that 1inch shows you. And that's not to say that they're, intentionally hiding things from you. I'm not insinuating that, but you don't actually know if they have something better. And unless you're a technical person who can go into the API and like query, hey, show me every single quote, most people are not going to know how to do that manually. And so that information asymmetry leads to worse outcomes. So that's why we went with the metadex aggregation route rather than just dex aggregation, because on the dex aggregation level, you're pooling information and liquidity from multiple dexes, but each of those dex aggregators is a competitor to each other. So you wind up having this pseudo free market, but it's not really a free market because it it it's very fragmented. You have to jump through hoops, and like I'll use Solana as an example. So Solana's been around for several years. They have 3 primary dexes, and they have one primary DEX aggregator, which is Jupiter. And Jupiter essentially controls 95% of all DEX aggregator volume on Solana. For all intents and purposes, that's a monopoly. There's no competition. If you wanted to start a new Solana-based DEX aggregator right now, unless you've got, tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars in VC money behind you to build a product and then market it to the masses, you are not going to take market share from Jupiter. That's Jupiter's arena. That's their lane. They run everything. And so when you're on Solana, you don't have the same variety of choices because you're being shown what Jupiter is putting out. Now, obviously, you got Orca, Meteora, and Radium as the primary 3 dexes on Solana. We aggregate all of those through our Jupiter integration. So if you, for example, I don't have a Solana address handy, but say for example, um, you you wanted to swap to Solana. I mean, as you can see, USDC, Sol, Jupe, USDS, all your different staking products, and then of course meme coins. So many meme coins, and the list just goes on and on and on and on and on. Well, the primary way this is all routed is through Jupiter, because Jupiter is 95% of all DEX aggregator volume. So Solana is kind of one of those networks that they have a good approach where everything is kind of pushed through the Sol token. But when it comes to consumer choices, I don't really see much optionality there. Like you don't get, like for example, with Ethereum, there's probably 40 or 50 different DEX aggregators that are all competing for the same big pie. Solana, it's like you got the pie and then Jupiter has the knife. So you don't really get much choice in the matter. Um, Whereas like if you were to go to um, let's say THORChain, let's pull this up and see. It might be a little slow, and that's definitely a bug. Um, uh, Maybe it might be a little buggy right now. But essentially, let's see here. maybe Bitcoin Cash. I think that's a bug in the
Yeah, a little display
code.
issue. No biggie. Happens.
Yeah, there we go. Here we go.
There you go.
Okay.
There we go.
Sometimes you just have to refresh. Yeah. Sometimes you just
Yeah.
have to refresh the screen. So like, for example, right now, let's see. Yeah, we can support swaps to THORChain, for Rune specifically. And then when it comes to your UTXO chains, like let's do Bitcoin Cash. So for Bitcoin Cash, when you when you enter in your address under the routes, it'll show THORChain. So on the left side, that's just your network selection. So it might be a little confusing at first because you'll see THORChain as the destination chain and Rune as the only asset, but that's because the other assets themselves are all on their respective networks. So THORChain's liquidity pool for Ethereum, that ETH is classified as on Ethereum, even though THORChain is the router. So THORChain will always be displayed as the router on the right, and then depending on what your desired asset is on the left, that'll determine, is this usable on THORChain? Like for example, with Maya, we support Cacao, but Maya has Dash, and when you go to choose Dash under the routes, it'll show Maya chain instead, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does.
And this, yeah, and the same thing applies with, for example, let's see here. I guess, or maybe, yeah, let's do. So like for Monero, I don't have a Monero address handy, but for this specifically, you would have your deposit only swap options, which would come through Rubik. So Rubik would be the route that would be shown, and then of course THORChain would be the other one once that goes live. But yeah, I mean, I know there's a
Flynn,
lot.
on
Yeah.
THORChain,
Mhm.
can you buy
Yeah.
TCY or Ruji or the other THORChain
So
tokens?
Ruji, I don't believe is available currently through our setup. I know. So TCY, that's a weird one because it's like you can get it on THORChain swap, obviously. I'm not sure if it's getting picked up though when it comes to swapping. Definitely, I'll ask my developer about that because like for example with Maya Chain, right? Where is it? So Maya Chain has Cacao and Maya token. But as you know, the Maya token isn't the easiest thing to get a hold of, and you have to actually go to Maya chain front ends to actually swap for the Maya token. So it could just be one of those display issues that's affecting the visible front-facing output. But ideally in the future, yes, we will be able to support our good friends at Rujira and then also the TCY token as well. But yeah, that's kind of like a very high level overlook of everything. I think 163 total blockchains, and as we scroll to the bottom, as you can see here, so XRP, that's going to be routed through THORChain. Radix, that's going to be routed through Maya Chain. Bitcoin Cash primarily through THORChain. Zcash, Monero, obviously, once those pools go live and have some depth, those will also show up in there as well. For example, Litecoin. So under your routes, it would show you Rango and Rubik because they both have the near intense integrations, but then also THORChain because THORChain has Litecoin. So it's kind of like a market survey almost. So like I don't have a Litecoin address handy, but if you look for it, it would show you those three
Yeah.
options there. Yeah.
I'm gonna tag on something you said a little while ago, and I really appreciate you saying that because you were talking about THORChain and the ethos. and
Hmm.
what THORChain is. And for those, because some people are gonna be watching this, are maybe not familiar with THORChain. I know some people in the comments are asking. So for those who don't know, THORChain is real layer 1 to layer 1. Okay, this is not a bridge in the conventional sense where it's like an intermediary application layer. Like all the node operators on THORChain, they run daemons of each layer 1. And the ethos has always been, right, we want to give the real asset for the real asset. So for example, like you have wrapped asset on Ethereum, WBTC,
Hmm.
and this is custodied by BitGo, right? With like we have WBTC on THORChain, but
Hmm.
you don't need it. You could go from Bitcoin to Ethereum, guys. And
Yeah.
I really appreciate you saying that, Flynn, because a lot of people don't understand how difficult this journey has been for THORChain. It has been one of the most excruciating, like blood coming out of our eyeballs to get real layer 1 to layer 1. We started in 2021 and here we're at 2026. It works really good now. We're still always making optimizations. So, but this is the real deal. This is what is always supposed to be. And Flynn, to your point, never compromise anything. Permissionless, no KYC, decentralized. That's a must, and we're
Hmm.
never going to break from that. So thank you, Flynn, for saying that earlier. I really
For
appreciate that.
sure. Yeah, and to go off of that, so to give you guys and our audience a broader view of what BazaarSwap is becoming. So first, obviously, we have the DEX aggregation layer. That's very important because you as an end user need to be able to swap to whatever you need. But here's the problem, and I'm sure you guys know where I'm going with this. How do you get to crypto from fiat first? Because most people, especially in the United States, and our friends in Europe who just got mica'd, how do you get from fiat to crypto without KYC being forced on you every step of the way? And so you guys have probably heard of peer.xyz.
Yeah.
We have been working with them on an SDK implementation. They did recently deprecate their web browser wallet components. So we're reworking our on-ramp, but essentially what we are constructing, so to speak, is first your end user comes in with fiat. Okay, they want to on-ramp, they go through peer. They get into USDC. They get a nice stable asset. Then once you have your crypto, you have your swap. So you get from fiat to crypto to crypto swap. And then I'm sure what a lot of people are wondering is, okay, well, now you have your crypto. What do you do with it? That's always the big question. Are you just going to hold like the Bitcoin maxis? Are you going to stake like, proof of stake chains tend to encourage? Or are you looking to use DeFi? And I know our good friends at Rujira are very, very busy building a long list of DeFi primitives. We are watching that very closely, almost in daily communication with our friend Little Bunny and Jean Burr. And basically, what we're looking to do, especially once things are more established, is we intend to integrate the Rujira primitives into our stack. So you go from fiat to crypto to crypto swap, and then once you have your crypto, then you will be able to go over to a primitives tab or a DeFi apps tab of some sort, and then choose, okay, I have my asset. What can I do with it? And then here's a list of primitives where you can say, okay, I want to use a collateralized debt position. I want to provide concentrated liquidity. I know Rujira is working on a token launch pad, a decentralized stablecoin, perps dex. So what we're looking to do is to first of all, obviously, onboard new people to crypto, make sure that whatever asset they need, they can get, and also they can get on whatever network it's available because with centralized exchanges, the user experience is very monolithic. And what I mean by that is, say for example, an exchange has Monero listed still. Well, you're getting one price, you don't have options, and it's also all KYC. So with THORChain, once the Monero pool is live and has some good depth to it, not only is there no KYC, but you're also going to then in BazaarSwap's interface be able to compare the price quote. So, if Monero's price is cheaper elsewhere other than THORChain, you will know. But if it is cheaper on THORChain, it'll be at the top. So that way everybody can see, oh, Monero's cheapest to buy here. And then for arbitrage traders, they can turn around and say, oh, on this deposit only swap, it's, $10 more expensive. Well, swap, you just made $10 in arb. And it's as simple as that. And right now, you can't do that anywhere. There is no Monero arbitrage trading on DEXs. It's not possible. And I don't know if Near Intense is going to be doing more stuff with Monero. I know they added Bitcoin Cash and Litecoin, and also I think Dash is on their list as well. But when it comes to that whole, the overarching DeFi experience, you have your primitives, but also you have your traders. And with crypto traders, I mean, especially high volume frequency traders, they want to execute a lot of trades in a short period of time. And they also want to be able to capture that arbitrage. Like for example, a good example for that is Zcash, because the vast majority of Zcash liquidity is on centralized exchanges. Binance, Coinbase, Kraken, Crypto.com, I think is another one. But most of the liquidity is on centralized exchanges. Now we have Maya Chain liquidity pool. We have Near Intense, which uses the Maya Chain liquidity pool. And then, of course, the Zcash liquidity pool coming on THORChain. Well, right now, when it comes to Zcash, there is a real disconnect in price. So part of showing all the different routes is, say, for example, we have another catastrophic black swan like October 10th from last year, where you had a local price oracle on Binance misreport and then get exploited, which had not happened as far as we know in the past. Well, if that price oracle was so off, you would know if you were using BazaarSwap, because you'd be able to compare that price with other routes. So this is another way to not only improve the overall user experience, but to make it safer, because like I personally haven't used Binance as an exchange since 2020, so I don't know if it's improved at all since I last used it. But when it comes to the DEX side of things, like with THORChain, I know THORChain has enshrined oracles for asset prices, and I know Monero is one of those weird ones that THORChain's basically going to have to make its own unique thing, because there's no good data feed or price of Monero, because
Right.
the centralized exchanges are all delisting it, and CoinGecko depends on those centralized exchanges for the price data. So when it comes to improving the user experience for trading, traders are going to want to know, number one, is this price actually correct? And number two, if it is correct, where is the arbitrage available? Because there's always going to be a disconnect between DEXs, because there's no centralized price. And on the flip side of that, between the whole DEX sex aggregation or DEX sex arbitrage, you can't do that. Like it's not possible to do yet. And hopefully in the next year or so, especially as Zcash developers are pumping money in, we'll be able to have some kind of setup where, even if the price is cheaper on a centralized exchange, you'll still be able to get the asset on, for example, on THORChain or through BazaarSwap through another route. And yeah, I think when it comes to traders, they want to see, is the price correct? Are they getting cheated? And also, what are the fees? Because a lot of times, especially when you have a proprietary or closed source front end, you're not always able to verify fees. And unless the platform is transparent with its fees, you don't really know how much they're making off of you. And that's one of those very scummy things that DeFi has unfortunately helped to facilitate, is that information asymmetry, where if you go to BazaarSwap's front end, you will see all the fees transparently. listed out and in their native form. So if you're trading from Ethereum to Bitcoin, you see the gas fees on both chains. So that way you know exactly how much it is that you're spending to move value from place to place. And actually one of the recent additions, and I'll reshare my screen real fast. So one of the brand new recent additions to the front end is this nice slippage tolerance button up here. So that way you can choose what your slippage tolerance is, and that'll determine, obviously your final output. So if we were to do a let's say very, very basic swap, USDC from chain to chain. So right now it looks like 10,000 USDC on Ethereum will get you approximately 9,961 on base. But if you say adjust your slippage to, let's say 1.5% maybe, and it might need some tweaking. But you can see here, you got your gas, both USDC and ETH, and then your total cost, obviously shown transparently. So that way you know exactly how much it is that you're spending. With the slippage, I think this will be more important for those thinner liquidity pools. So Zcash, Monero, stuff that doesn't have, the deepest liquidity in crypto, which I honestly use USDC. But yeah, I think transparency is a very, very big deal in DeFi because there's a lot of shady stuff that goes on. There's a lot of price
Yes.
fixing, insider trading, spoofing of prices, like spoofing oracles, which is really, really scary because you're supposed to use the oracle trustlessly. And if you can't even verify that the price oracle is correct, it's like, how can you trust? And the
Can I
great
add
thing
on to
about
that?
THORChain is that it's trustless. Yes, yes, sir.
Oh, I'm sorry. You can finish your trustless point. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, just saying, like, that's one of the things I came to crypto for. I shouldn't have to trust like a brokerage, for example. I shouldn't have to trust that my brokerage isn't screwing me on fees. Or, back in the day when you have an actual a human broker and you pay that broker commission fees. I mean, there's no way for you to know whether they're, gouging you on those. So removing all that uncertainty and those friction points, I think really drives home the value proposition of it being actually trustless, because we want users to use BazaarSwap and use it trustlessly, knowing that they are getting the correct information, they're getting the best possible prices, and also, of course, transparency of all your gas costs, your total costs. Because, when you look at this, you say, okay, so approximately 20 USDC and then 0.0000002 ETH. What the heck is that in US dollars? Or what the heck is that in euros, or whatever currency you want to use? And so having that transparency, it's almost like it is a differentiation to have that.
Flynn, I want to ask you something
Yeah.
about that. Is your slippage in addition to the price impact? So I ran this problem with swap.thorchain.org where users were confusing the slippage with the price impact. And so, for example, somebody
Mm.
had their slippage set at 1%, and then they go and enter the trade, and the price impact was like 20%. And they go, sir, I confirm, blah, blah, blah. And then they got mad because they lost 20% on the trade.
Mm.
And they said, oh, but my slippage was 1%. And it's like, well, the slippage is in addition to the price impact. So your price impact is what your that's what your output is. And if it's
Yeah.
1%, you're okay with the 1% on top of the 20. And this guy didn't understand that. Even though it was all presented, it was all clear, it was all
Hmm.
it was there. He saw it. He was even highlighted in red. And he still accepted it, thinking that his slippage would protect him from that 20% price impact. but it didn't.
Oh, yeah. So
And
I will
so we
definitely get
changed
back
our
to you.
UI a
Yeah.
bit to incorporate it, but I just thought I'd ask you how you do it.
Yeah, so this is actually a brand new addition to our interface. So I will get back to you on a specific answer on that. But my assumption is that when you have your slippage set, that's all factored in here. So your rate is transparent. Your gas costs are factored in. So obviously you'll have to pay gas to transfer whatever it is you're looking to trade. And then of course your total cost that should include the price impact as well. So we may separate it out and have like another line item saying, if there is.
Lost audio, buddy. You there?
Yeah, I
Flynn?
think what was Flynn.
Okay.
It's very much one of those things. Yeah.
Oh, there
Hey,
you go. There you go.
there he is.
Flynn,
Hey,
you need to repeat.
last 20 seconds, buddy. You dropped. Can you repeat what you're saying?
Oh, just that like we might just add in another line item here before total cost, saying, okay, so here's your rate, here's your gas, and then there's your price impact. Because I agree that it's supposed to be as transparent as possible, and a lot of times, like especially not to throw anyone under the bus, but when you go to MetaMask and you go to MetaMask's in-wallet swap and you go to trade, for example, something like Bitcoin, which there's only one swap provider that they use. It's LifeHigh, and the slippage is insane. So yeah, definitely being radically transparent about all that will help with easing any kind of confusion. Because yeah, with the current interface, price impact is not explicitly shown. So that's something we'll definitely uh, get pushed forward.
Very cool. Very cool. I wanted to go back to something you're talking about
Mhm.
oracles, because you made a really good point,
Yeah.
about oracles being manipulated. And you mentioned the app layer on THORChain, which Rujira, which for those who don't know exists on THORChain. A lot of DeFi primitives, lending, loans, perps, leverage, all these cool things. Everything you could do on a centralized exchange will be coming to the app layer. So the thing with XMR specifically is that
Mhm.
when it goes live on THORChain, it'll be the only permissionless non-KYC pool in existence, right? And
Yeah.
so as you're pointing out, Flynn, a lot of centralized exchanges are delisting it. So we would have to use our own price oracle on our own pool, which really doesn't work for leverage, because it's very manipulatable. You can change you can
Yeah.
just do a lot of
Yeah.
things. So that will have to wait until a lot of things. But what's really interesting, Flynn, I'm super curious, is there's some debate when XMR goes live on THORChain, because it's literally paired with Rune and anyone can swap on it, anyone can arbitrage the pool. That's when XMR will start having real price discovery, because there's so much friction with XMR, because not only is it on a lot of centralized exchanges, you have to get it in person, but but the KYC thing, like, people do not want that, right? That
Mhm.
defeats the whole purpose of XMR.
Yep.
So I am super excited, and I'm really happy to hear you guys will be ready for XMR. And before I kick it back to you, just let people know, when XMR goes live on THORChain, you guys, I always say this every time, there may be bugs. It's going to have shallow liquidity. Don't attempt big swaps, right? This is the most complicated chain client we've ever added in the history of THORChain. So if it goes live and pauses real quick, that may happen. We always have these interesting nuances that happen with new chains. It happens every time, whether it's Solana, Binance
Mhm.
Smart Chain. XMR may be no different. So if it goes on THORChain, you want to try swap, $50, $100, okay? But just be aware, please be aware, there may be some bugs we have to sort out, and we will gradually deepen the pools, and we'll be off to the races. But I'll kick it back to you, Flynn, if you want to say
Wonderful.
anything else.
Yeah, and a funny thing about the Monero pool. So the day that JP did the live demo was my birthday, and so I was very excited. I was like, oh my gosh, this is a wonderful birthday present. I get to see the very first ever demonstration of Monero, and we know what happened. It was like, of course there was an attack on that day, because I mean I can't stress this enough. Getting a proper no KYC permissionless liquidity pool for Monero opens the floodgates, because right now, you can do a lot of stuff with Zcash. You can play around with Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, Litecoin, even Dash. But Monero is really isolated. You can't lend it easily. You can't borrow against it. I know there's definitely internal debate at Rujira about whether or not they'll even be able to ship certain things with Monero because of how complex it is and how hard it is to work with because you need a transparent pricing oracle. And then the question becomes, okay, THORChain has this oracle for Monero that makes that oracle a serious target for nefarious actors because it's the only source of truth. And
Right.
so, yeah, the price oracle thing is very interesting because on October 10th, when everything hit the fan, I'm pretty sure Monero was still listed on Binance at the time, and unless it was just the perpetuals that were still on there. But once again, those Monero perpetuals on Binance futures, still depend on the same price oracle. So it's like when you try to build out these structured products on top of Monero, you have a single point of failure, which is like, oh boy, that's a
Correct.
little scary because single points of failure is basically antithetical to crypto. So we want to distribute that risk away. And obviously we encourage anyone listening, if you're looking to develop any kind of Monero DeFi, please do so because
Yes.
we desperately need like I haven't really read up on the latest big new stablecoin thing that they just talked about this past week. The one that had those 100+ enterprises
Open
all sign on.
Open USD or something.
OpenUSD,
Yeah.
yeah, and my friends and I are talking. It's like, so this is the next attempt at a CBDC. They failed to make USDT and USDC proper CBDCs, so now they're trying one through businesses because businesses are who adopts all the technology before consumers do. And then what, like, for example, I love to use this one. So in the US, I don't know if you guys remember, but like 20 years ago, when you go to the grocery store, there was no tap to pay. There was no chip
Right.
readers like that didn't exist. Like, China had it, maybe a few other countries in Asia were testing that kind of tech out back then, but we didn't have any of that. Now you can't go to a store and not see tap to pay or insert your chip from your card to pay. So, and like for example, when we were growing up, you had to swipe your credit card. You had that mag strip. You got to swipe that thing in order to initiate a transaction. And now most people don't even know that's a feature. They look at their credit card and they're like, what is this strip on the back of it? They don't know because the technology is no longer the most popular thing. Um, and the same thing applies with crypto. We have had some great conversations with the team from Wallet Connect. Wallet Connect has their Wallet Connect Pay, which is their merchant and e-commerce facing payments platform, and it's all through QR code. And 15 years ago, there was no QR code payments in the US. There was no infrastructure that supported that. And then about that time, China, which has WeChat and Alipay, they both push QR code payments. And now it is the standard, it is the norm. Most people don't even know what it's like to not have a QR code option. So from this DeFi perspective, eventually I think personally, all these different interfaces for aggregating dexes, they're all going away. All these interfaces for cross-chain bridging, I think it's safe to say that THORChain's model is better than a cross-chain bridge, especially when you have wrapped assets involved. So all these interfaces, the DEXs, the DEX aggregators, the cross-chain bridges, those are all going to be abstracted away, and you're just going to have a front-facing interface. And then from the wallet side of things, right now, the wallet is a huge point of friction. If you go to a real-world business, chances are they are not going to support a crypto wallet for a form of payment. But if you have a digital debit card that just so happens to connect to your self-custody crypto wallet, suddenly you can use your crypto in your self-custody to pay for things in the real world. And as long as the merchants and businesses accept it, that's all you need. You don't have to convince everyone in the world to use the tech, because the businesses will push it forward. And so with that OpenUSD, I think it's good that there's going to be more competition, because Tether kind of just, they faked it until they made it, and now they have like $114 billion in US treasuries on their balance sheet, and they have a bunch of gold too. So I think with a lot of these payment methods and the way that crypto goes mainstream is businesses adopt it and then abstract away every single aspect of crypto that exists, so that
Yeah.
you don't know that you're using crypto. You don't know that you're using a stable coin. Like I saw the other day, Polygon announced their latest stable coin volume, and it's some insane number, but it's all stable coins. Like, it makes sense if you're optimized for stable coin payments, that you would do very well, because stable coins are universal. And because it's a US dollar pegged stable coin, whether redeemable or not, the dollar is king. I think that's kind of like the overall message. Like, everything we see coming out is, oh, here's another stable coin. It's US dollar based. There
Right.
are, of course, like your EURC, your JPYC. I know at one point a couple of countries had tried like digital currencies. I know Venezuela had the Petro. Russia has a couple of ruble-backed stable coins, and it's like nothing has really taken off the same way as dollar-based stable coins. And so, from our perspective, looking at how to solve the next big problem, it's very apparent that in between, where a merchant simply has to have a QR code for you to be able to pay. And as long as your technology on your device is able to transfer value to that QR code address, you just solved the biggest problem in crypto, which is spending. And I think, like, especially now with all these, crypto-backed debit cards, crypto-backed banking services, financial services, I think especially how we're positioned, and of course with THORChain, we are in a wonderful position heading into the second half of this year. Because, like, right now, I don't I don't keep up with politics really, so I don't know what the latest is with the Clarity Act, but I know that the big debate is about how the yield of the stablecoin is handled. And as long as we have some kind of decentralized alternative eventually on Rujira, I think we'll be okay, because the biggest thing is preserving value and not sacrificing security and control. Because, like, I mean, there's multiple queries and dashboards on Dune that'll show you all the blocked addresses, all the frozen value on Tether and Circle, and it's like, you're essentially saying, if somebody in power doesn't like you, they can freeze all your assets on chain, and there's nothing you can do about it except for not using those assets. So THORChain, it's like, okay, you have USDC, you have USDT, but those are more for pass-throughs rather than for storing value. People like to store their value in Bitcoin, or they like to store their value in Monero or Zcash. So yeah, I think there's a lot of real world problems that can be solved through THORChain stack, and yeah, just very very excited to see things come together. Obviously, the Monero pool top focus right now, but once that's live, I know you guys have a very long list of other networks and assets that you want to support, and I think it's fantastic that THORChain is now pushing privacy coins,
Oh
because
yeah.
that's like, to me, especially during 2020 to 2023, 2024, privacy in financial transactions has been exposed as basically fake in fiat. There is no privacy unless I come to you in person and hand you paper bills or physical money. there is no way to avoid surveillance now. And so Monero, Zcash, Dash, I know Litecoin also has MWeb. Like these are going to be very, very important going forward. And I see a lot of volume coming because people have been waiting for Monero for years. Like we've watched Soridex since 2022. This is 2026. There's still no live front end, and THORChain has taken the lead, and I'm very glad that they did.
I'm going to add there, and the reason why we're able to do this, I want to be absolutely clear to everybody. It was thanks to Luke Parker from Sarai.
Yes.
He open sourced his Frost TSS, which makes it possible on THORChain. So we always give shout out. That was very good of him to open source it because it's really hard, Flynn, and anyone like doing privacy coin on THORChain because there has to be solvency. And so how many coins are coming in? It's really hard. But again, thanks to Luke Parker and also Boone, a community member, helping us make the chain client's been really good. You said a couple things here, and I want to break them down a little bit. So the first thing you said about wrapped assets, Flynn, I totally agree. The thing with wrapped assets, you guys, is that they're inherently insecure, right? You have a third party who is who has to give you, it's a derivative, right? And so there's a redemption there. At the third party, like Kenton's used this example many times. If you have gold in a bank, right? And they give you a slip of paper, you have paper gold, right? The bank can either take the gold or they can issue more slips of paper than there's actually gold in the vaults, right? So there's problems with that. It's inherently economically insecure. The cool thing, THORChain will support them. You can swap in and out of them, but it's not definitely the assets we love. We love real layer one. And then you mentioned about privacy. Listen, guys, I want to be absolutely clear. The privacy on THORChain is for the betterment of the world. You see it all the time. People are getting abducted. They're getting hurt because there's no privacy. People can learn how much money people have, the $5 wrench attacks, because of all the data breaches and various centralized exchanges, right? And so privacy, THORChain, Kenton has made this point. We want to be the privacy DEX. We want people to be able to protect themselves against their information being leaked. So if your data has been leaked, you can achieve privacy on THORChain. And that is so important for the world. It's necessary for commerce. It's important for the individual. It's so important. Kenton, did you want to add to that?
Yeah, I just want to just clarify something you said. You cannot achieve privacy on THORChain.
Correct.
THORChain is public.
Correct. Yeah.
But you can access privacy tokens on THORChain.
Correct.
And then the privacy preserving features occur on those other blockchains. So THORChain itself is not private; it's public, just like Bitcoin. Everything is so on a Monero swap on THORChain. All the same data is public on a Bitcoin transaction is public on a Monero transaction. So just want to clarify that. I know you know that, Denny.
Yeah, I know. Thank you for doing that, Kenton. Appreciate it.
And that brings up a very good point because, like, not to FUD, but whenever I see someone say, "Oh, another bad actor laundered money on THORChain," it's like, do you know what money laundering is? Do you know the definition? The definition includes obfuscation. You can't obfuscate a public path. It is impossible. That's why people don't launder money through DeFi most of the time, because there's no privacy. You have to use, what most people in the world use to launder money is the US dollar. They use cash. They don't use crypto. Like all that FUD about how, Monero is just for criminals. Yeah, something like 1% of all crypto volume is involved with criminal activity. 1%. The US dollar, we can't even come close to verifying an amount of what US dollars are used to launder money. So it's like this narrative of, nefarious actors, using these same bridges. And then all the negative comments I saw, about how, all this, whatchamacallit, the laundered funds that were swapped from Monero to Bitcoin, and then the Bitcoin flowed through THORChain. And then people were saying, THORChain should shut this down and prevent the swaps. It's like, do you understand what permissionless means? Do you understand what self-custody is? You can't just shut down a neutral platform, because then it's no longer neutral, and you lose all reputation as a neutral place. Like, it is the decision of the nodes whether to censor or not. And if they don't say so, it doesn't happen. And I think people need to better understand that, like, when it comes to financial privacy, you are very limited in what you can do. MiCA is now in effect. Binance has left the 30 countries in the EU, completely rugged hundreds of millions of people who no longer have access to all of those assets. And I've seen you guys heavily promoting on Twitter, specifically mentioning, hey, for everyone who's been affected by MiCA, come check out THORChain. You can get the same assets you're used to getting. You'll probably get a better price because THORChain's not taking huge fees like Binance likes to, and it's all self-custody. So you control your assets every step of the way. There's no middlemen. There's no KYC. There's no restrictions on your activities. And I think that's one of the most important things is, like, if you are truly a free market person, you do not believe in interference, whether it's from the state or from private corporations. And the fact that THORChain is decentralized, I think, is it 100 nodes right now that you guys
Roughly.
have supporting? So it's like you got 100 nodes distributed globally. I mean, yes, is it enough nodes? Sure, because the more nodes you have, the harder it's going to get to reach consensus in a
Yeah,
reasonable amount of time, because everybody has to coordinate.
Yeah,
Yeah.
can I let me just break that down a little bit. So
Mhm.
node numbers on THORChain, guys, 100 is actually quite a lot. For every a
Yeah.
linear increase in nodes increases is like quadratic increase in computational burden on the network. Because all the different like attestations and Bifrost and all like it, so
Mhm.
we could probably go up to 250 nodes. Right now the limit's 120. It's an arbitrary configuration, but that might
Mhm.
really slow down THORChain. So we want to be as much nodes as possible, but I know Kenton can attest to this as well. The more nodes we have, it's hard to get things moving on THORChain. Like we are a decentralized protocol. You said it perfectly, Flynn. Like THORChain is 100% decentralized, and our Nakamoto coefficient is getting better all the time. In terms of money laundering, I want to share something here because you're
Mhm.
right. Last we checked, gosh dang it, did it work? The
Oh
amount
yeah.
of illicit activity on THORChain is like 2%. Okay, very, very little.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Look at that national debt there, right, guys?
Ah.
I'm in government. I'm a
Okay.
politician, and
Okay.
I want you guys to know how much money can you audit that 39.4 trillion right there? You cannot.
No.
And that is by design. There is no way to audit it. I've tried. I've talked to people. There's no way. It is one money laundering freaking regime. That's what it is. And
Yep.
so THORChain cannot hand account. First off, to your point, Flynn, you can't launder on THORChain. By definition, it is impossible.
Yep.
And secondly, there is no argument to be made here against THORChain. The people that have caused the problem of the world, look at that freaking number right there. Let me tell you, okay,
Mhm.
you're done. You're done. You've lost. It's like a family with a credit card. Okay, you got to take the credit card away. Okay, your
Yeah.
children are in debt. You can't buy food. Like, look at that number. That is the point of THORChain. It's
Mhm.
time for something different to make a free, open, and permissionless infrastructure that fixes the world. So I'm sorry, I didn't mean to get on my high horse
No,
there, but
no
this is
worries.
something that gets me really
Yeah.
riled up because we are the solution. THORChain is the
Yep.
solution for
Yeah.
economics, 100%. That's why this mission is so
And
important.
yeah, like as I said, like my background is TradFi. I've spent about 15 years as an investor on the other side, not as an insider. And one of the things I learned, actually from my broker, was that he said, "Oh, well, you know that like 80% or more of all financial activity in the U.S. markets is controlled by machines. It's not humans are not on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange placing all these high frequency trades every 2 seconds. It's all machines doing everything." And so once I learned that, I realized that, you know, the way to succeed in the financial industry is to learn how the machines work and then to mimic them, because they will show you what they're going to do before they do it. A great example is BlackRock, right? So a lot of people think that BlackRock is this, I don't want to say altruistic because they're definitely not altruistic, but the fact that they essentially own shares of every single publicly traded company in the entire US stock market. But the way that they actually accumulate and purchase stocks for their clients, for the customers, it's their in-house AI. It's called Aladdin. And Aladdin is worth trillions of dollars. It's basically the engine that BlackRock developed in-house to do all of this. Um, and like most people don't know that when the announcement goes out, oh, BlackRock is selling Bitcoin. Well, actually, no, that's not what's happening. BlackRock works for its clients. So if its clients are like IBIT, for example, that ETF, say IBIT holders are like, you know what? I think Bitcoin's going to crash. I want to sell all this. Well, when they place that sell order, they are not selling Bitcoin. They are selling units of the exchange traded fund that is run, owned, and managed by BlackRock. And BlackRock charges their management fee annually on every single ETF unit holder. So, in the process of people freaking out about how, oh, BlackRock is buying up all the Bitcoin, no, they actually aren't. Their clients and customers are requesting that they hold that Bitcoin for them in their custody. And who's the custodian? Well, 9 times out of 10, it's Coinbase. And so really at the heart of it, people are not really aware of how things work. They see things on the internet that are very hyperbolic, that are very sensationalized, and they jump to conclusions. It's like, oh, BlackRock's buying up all the Bitcoin. You know, what are we going to do? It's like, no, retirees who hold IBIT in their 401k and pension funds are requesting Bitcoin to be bought for them and held for them in a separate third party, you know, custodial account. And there's a big difference between that and what we're doing here and what THORChain does, because THORChain itself is not buying Bitcoin and holding it in custody for you. It's providing the place for people to provide their Bitcoin to be used for those swaps. And so, like, there's been a lot of FUD. There's been a lot of fear mongering about, you know, global financial control and all that. But the truth is, these are just businesses operating the way they were designed. It isn't that they're inherently nefarious. It's that if you tell BlackRock, hey, I don't want to hold these units of this ETF anymore, they say, okay, cool. We will sell the equivalent Bitcoin that you were holding. That's fine. No argument there. They still take their 2% fee or whatever it is, but it's a lot more transparent than people think. And you know, as we kind of move forward in time, like we've seen other networks get attention from BlackRock, like Avalanche. You know, Avalanche is in THORChain, and Avalanche has whatchamacallit, has the tokenized US Treasuries, the BIDL fund from BlackRock. I know Injective is another network that has the BIDL fund. So it's like people need to understand that not everything is terrible, and there's a lot of really good things happening. And it really is, the onus is on the individual to analyze the information and make their own decisions. But when it comes to all this FUD about, you know, THORChain and money laundering and it's like, no, you need to read a book. Go to go to dictionary.com, look up the definition of money laundering. It's not what people think, and it's
Yep.
always these very hyperbolic statements that then get picked up by the algorithm on Twitter, and then Twitter pushes that message far and wide. Everybody retweets it, everybody comments on it, all the AI bots pile in, and it's like next thing you know, you have something like the Zcash crash, where the price was $600+ a coin, and then our good friend Arthur Hayes and his cartel decides, hey, you know what? We're done making money off of this. Dump. And the price
Yep.
dropped $400 a coin. And lo and behold, the vast majority of that was a pump and dump. a blatant pump and dump. It didn't happen on THORChain. It happened on centralized exchanges and perpetuals exchanges on those centralized exchanges. This was not a hyper liquid bet that
Yeah.
melted everything down.
Yeah, and if I may just interject real quick,
Mhm.
that goes to our enshrined Oracle design, of course. And you know, Flynn, you only get flack when you're over the target. Okay, I think THORChain is
Yep.
really onto something here. We did the hard work and we're there. I know some of our speakers have to get going soon, so I want to make sure.
Yeah.
Nikita, is there anything you want to add to this conversation at all? This has been such a great conversation. I love you guys. I think you're doing a great job. I'll give it to you, Nikita, real quick.
Well, I wanted to add that we all trying to achieve pretty much the same goal, is the proper usage of money. And so and I think it does. There's a lot of problems that needs to be solved, and proper usage of money is one of them, and there is a lot of the stuff that needs to be done. And it guys yourselves, that technologically wise, it's never easy, but it's always fun. So I think this is great. We're working together on all this, and this is really awesome. The actual chat, I'm more than willing, and I think Flynn will support me to come over any times again and chat, because we definitely on the same wave. So
This is great. This is great. Kenton, I want to kick it to you if you have anything you want to add to this. I think it's been an awesome conversation.
No, it's been great. Yeah, I love it. I love what you guys are doing. Keep up the great work, and yeah, we should do this again sometime. But I'm sorry I need to get going too, guys. But don't let that
Yeah.
if you want to keep going, I'll let you guys go. But I need to jet. So thanks again, guys, for coming. I appreciate your time today
course.
and learning all about BazaarSwap.
Yeah, and happy July 4th. Of course, it's America's birthday. I think we're all gonna go celebrate now.
I'm Canadian. I'm in Canada right now.
But you
So
know
we
what?
had
Oh my
Canada
gosh.
Day was on July 1st on Wednesday. But
Yep.
Let me tell
I
you,
would
Flynn,
still love to celebrate the 4th. I think it'd be fun.
I put lots of guns in that Canadian's hand, and so now he is part
Honorary
American now.
American?
He is an
Okay, yeah,
honorary
okay.
American now. Yes.
And to celebrate the
That's
51st state.
wonderful.
Yeah.
So Alberta.
Yeah, well, no, Alberta doesn't want to be a state. It wants to be its own country. I am in Alberta.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Melrose country,
Kenton
baby.
for Albertan president or prime minister. I don't know. I don't know anything about Alberta, but let's make it happen,
Yeah.
Kenton. Rune to
Alberta's the best part of
1,000, and then
Canada.
we're gonna
Yeah,
get you a
that's what you gotta
political
know.
campaign. We're gonna do it, buddy. 100%.
Right on. I'll see you guys later. Take care.
Hey, take care, buddy.
Perfect.
Yeah. Hey,
Thank you.
Flynn, Nikita, real quick on BazaarSwap. Let's just do some simple questions. Is there any type
Sure.
of token or anything associated with BazaarSwap?
So here's a fun one. So we originally had planned for a token when we were first designing this. We're in the process of kind of going back and forth over, what's the best approach. And originally we had thought, well, maybe we release a token on an EVM, because obviously EVMs have great accessibility. There's the most wallets for that. But then, we took a look deeper, because we were really interested in Base. And, we aren't going to say where we're looking to launch our token just yet. But when we looked at Base, it's a great chain, don't get me wrong, but there is so much activity on it that in order to get attention, to get any kind of like public awareness, you really have to have a lot of money behind you to break through the wall. Cause like there's thousands of assets. There's a lot of new assets that have listed on Base. So we do have plans for a token. We don't have a timeline for that yet, but we are looking at a few chains, and here's a nice hint. THORChain will support them regardless. So
Yeah, I was just gonna say that if whatever chain you guys, if you want to, you should talk to the devs, and I'm sure you guys have this conversation. If you want to open a pool on THORChain, I don't see why not. Obviously, I'm not. That's above my pay grade. But if it's related to Base or Ethereum, just random example, Solana, I don't see why we couldn't have a separate pool. And then the asset access to your token can't be stopped no matter what. Right.
That's true. Yes.
That's what we do, baby. Yeah. Okay, man, this is great. Okay, another basic question. What do you
Mhm.
guys charge fees for swaps on
Yeah,
Bazaar? I don't know if we covered that.
so the way that BazaarSwap is set up, we do not actually tack on any additional fees in addition to what the underlying swap providers are charging. So Squid Router, Rango, Rubik, THORChain, StonFi all have, well, THORChain's a little different, but the other four have their own fees. That fee percentage per transaction, I, I would like to say the higher end is maybe 2%. So very, very, very low fees. Obviously with
It
THORChain,
it varies.
we
Yeah,
just charge
it
less.
varies. It varies across the chains, and that's the as Flynn mentioned, we using the fees that the actual providers give out. But then,
Yeah,
obviously, with the future, as I said, if we're going to be piggybacking multiple providers, then we're obviously going to be talking in our own fees as well. But
yeah.
that's
So
obviously
so
because it's
yeah,
a high level product in terms of AI. So.
as of right now, we do not charge a separate platform fee, but if we do, it would be transparently displayed in the UI along with the gas fees and everything else.
I'm gonna tell you something here. So there's something we're working on THORChain, where we want to do specific kickbacks to certain integrators. So the more fees, the more swap volume
Mm.
you send to THORChain, you get a slice of the pie. So this is an early access, but something for you
Ooh,
guys to keep an eye out. So that's why we're trying to get like a good positive feedback loop for people. So yeah, that is being worked on and it's being in testing phase right now. So that might be really cool, right? So that would be awesome for you guys. So you
yeah.
guys get some more
Is
revenue. So
it
mhm.
is this separate from the affiliate setup that THORChain and other
So if
integrators
yeah, so
have?
there's an affiliate fee, right? An affiliate fee,
Hmm.
whatever you charge, and then from what I understand, there's additional component where you get more kickback based on because THORChain gets a slice too, right? So from what I
Yeah,
understand,
yeah.
the THORChain slice that part. So here's the the slippage, the affiliate fee, your fee that you would get, and then the THORChain side. If you do more and more volume, we share some of the THORChain slice to you. Right.
Gotcha,
So
gotcha.
so you get so
Yeah.
it's affiliate plus in that case. That's my understanding.
Oh, okay.
Does that make sense? So you get a little bit
Yeah.
more on your end. It doesn't change the execution, price execution for the end user, but you get a
It's a
benefit.
it's a post-transaction fee split almost in a way. Like or not a fee split, a revenue split.
Yeah, revenue
Because the
split. Yep. Revenue
fees
share.
being charged already, but after the fact, that revenue then gets divided up based on how much of it gets pushed through THORChain then.
Right, right. The revenue share
Gotcha.
with you guys directly. So I don't know all the nuts and bolts yet. Again, it's a little early thing,
Mhm.
but something to keep in mind. And this
Yeah.
particularly if you guys offer Monero, because Monero, I think we
Yep.
all agree it's gonna be bonkers once it becomes stable on
Yes.
THORChain. Just shout out everybody. We're gonna have some work to do on the XMR. We're gonna try and hit it out of the park first go, but please expect pauses. But we will iron out the bugs as they come in. It
Mhm.
will get more and more reliable. Yeah, man. And then being able
Yeah.
to you guys say, hey, come get your XMR, permissionless, non KYC, decentralized, and then the
Yes.
revenue share. Cha-ching! That's what we love, buddy. Because
Mhm.
we want to reward interfaces for helping choose storage, and we love that, right? And you
Yeah.
guys, a lot of people won't. A lot of protocols, as you know, they will not support XMR out of fear or
Nope.
regulatory uncertainty. But
Mhm.
THORChain does not. And I want to be
Mhm.
clear because you mentioned about compliance. THORChain is not about wanting to comply or not wanting to comply. THORChain is designed on first principles where it just simply can't comply. It is a
Yeah.
decentralized 100% network. It's not, there's no compliance element to this whatsoever. It just does what it does, right? It's completely open, permissionless, neutral infrastructure that is not subject
Mhm.
to a centralized intermediary whatsoever. So man, I love it.
Perfect.
And
Yeah.
so yeah, I'm glad Nikita heard that as well. Shout out to Nikita. I really appreciate him joining. Awesome. But Flynn, we're coming on 2 hours. Was there anything
Mhm.
else that you wanted to talk about when it comes to Bazaar? I think we really went through the distance on BazaarSwap, and I love what you guys are doing. I think this is great.
Yeah. I think overall just that um we are looking to defragment the liquidity problem in DeFi. We've seen so many forks of Uniswap. We've seen so many DEXs come out. We've seen so many analogs of Bitcoin and derivatives of Ethereum. And it's like every single new asset that's created just further segregates the value. And what we love so much about THORChain, not just because you guys are purists, but because you remove so many of the risks in DeFi. I know that there are risks, but you guys remove a lot of the bigger risks that other platforms just leave. And so when you're using, I'm not going to name names, but when you use certain dexes, you are opening yourself up to systemic risks, whether it be a built-in bridge smart contract or even a smart contract for a token being, like we saw with KelpDAO, RSETH, and several other, like a lot of stable coins. Like there are systemic risks that THORChain removes, and we're all about decentralizing and distributing the risk as far and as wide as possible, because ultimately we want to help bank the unbanked. And that's kind of been like our overarching goal is we want to facilitate payments for decentralized services. And we want to make sure that if you want to get an asset, you can, and you have options. It's always about options. We don't want you to be given only one choice, because that's not a choice. That's a single point of failure. And we want to solve that finally after all these years.
I love it. I love it. And the whole point of THORChain again, guys, is we just want to be open for anyone in the world. This is the one shot we got. We only get this is
Yep.
so crazy. Flynn, this is a crazy time to be alive. This is a once in a species event. We will never have a transition into blockchain ever again. This is it. This is our one shot to truly separate, economics from abusive central parties like tyrants,
Yep.
governments,
The
whatever it
Fed.
is.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Printing money, robbing people of their purchasing power. I showed earlier a link of the debt, which is approaching $40 trillion, which is an
Yep.
insanely stupid $40 trillion, you guys. Imagine a pile of cash,
Yep.
$40 million high. Whatever that looks like in $100 bills is a stupidly big. And now imagine there's 1 million piles of those in like a grid for as
Yep.
far as you could see. There's an incomprehensible amount of money. It's over.
Yep.
It's done.
Yep.
The economic. Yes, go ahead.
And just to make it even crazier for people, if you think 40 trillion is a lot, don't ask how much debt is in China. Just don't do it, because last I saw $350 trillion. Nobody knows where it is. You can't audit it. There's no transparency, and that's all sloshing around simultaneously with our 40 trillion. So the US debt problem is not even the biggest gorilla in the room, and that's the one we're trying to solve. So
Right.
the global market for financial transparency and proper safety and security, it's hundreds of trillions of dollars. And crypto is just this tiny little sliver, like was it like 2 trillion total, a tiny little sliver. So we have a very, very long way to go to
Yes.
making this all right.
And a responsibility as well, because we only get one chance to get this correct, right? And to be ready for when everyone has to flee this economic system that's just doomed to fail.
Yep.
Doomed to fail.
100% agree.
Well, my friend, we are at 2 hours. What do you think? You think we should leave it there? It's been a really fun conversation.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, there's a whole lot of good sound bites that we're gonna pull from this for sure. Weeks
Did a
and
great
weeks of
job, man.
content. Yeah,
Oh,
thank
I
you so
love
much,
you.
and I really appreciate it.
We can do it again. We can do it again when
Yep.
if you guys have any updates or anything like that, we'd love to have you guys on again. This has been really fun. So you
I think
guys, please go ahead.
Mhm.
Go ahead, Flynn.
Yeah, I was gonna say once the Monero pool is live on THORChain, I think that would be a great second conversation follow up, because it's like once that's live and it can actually be tested and shown, working proof of concept, that's a very big deal, because right now there isn't one. So yeah, very, very excited for that for sure.
Absolutely, dude. Absolutely. You guys, please follow BazaarSwap, BAZAAR swap on X. It is also from Decentranet. That's DECENTR net on X, you guys. Flynn, this has been so good. I really love it, you guys. And always remember, for any THORChain data insights, please follow at Ray Analytics on X. He does written recaps of these podcasts, so we expect this as well. And always remember, guys, everything we talk about here, it is never financial advice. It does not condone any illicit activity whatsoever. We will never do that. We're just here telling you our opinions, and we're just random dudes online. That's what we
Yep.
are. Flynn, this has been so good,
Yep.
man. Thank you so
Thanks,
much,
sir.
brother.
Appreciate it. Yeah. Thank you, Dennis.
All right, you guys, enjoy the rest of your weekend. We will see you next time on Thursday, and then the following week we will have Voltisig. So tune in for that.
Wonderful.
Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.